Hey everyone, welcome. We all know third grade is a huge year for reading and math, right? But what about the rest of the school day? What really goes on? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and explore the incredible ways modern education is shaping young minds, moving way beyond just the basics. Let's get into it. So seriously, what happens after the multiplication drills are done and the chapter books are put away? I can guarantee it's a whole lot more than you might think. And it's probably completely different from what you remember from your own school days. The goal has made this huge shift from just memorizing facts to actually building thinkers.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big picture idea, what's called the whole child curriculum. Then we'll dive into 4 key areas: science, social studies, art, and yep, even PE. And to wrap it all up, we'll face the music and look at the real-world challenges that this amazing vision is up against.
Okay, so the main idea connecting everything we're about to talk about is this massive change in teaching philosophy. We're talking about a move away from the old model where students just sat there and soaked up information, and a move toward a new model that builds active, curious, critical thinkers.
And the engine powering this whole shift is something called inquiry-based learning. You know, at its heart, it's pretty simple. It means learning is driven by questions, by curiosity, by investigation. The student isn't just an empty bucket waiting for a teacher to pour facts into their head. No way. They get to be the scientist, the historian, the artist. They're the ones actively making sense of the world.
Now take a look at this, because this chart really shows you the unified vision I'm talking about. Each of these subjects, science, social studies, arts, PE, they all have their own fancy national frameworks. But look closer. Look at the goal for each one: scientific literacy, civic preparation, artistic literacy, physical literacy. And how do they get there? Every single one is rooted in some form of inquiry and active learning. The details might be different, but the core philosophy is exactly the same.
So let's kick things off with science, and I want you to forget everything you remember about memorizing the parts of a plant from a textbook diagram. The modern science class, it's all about getting your hands dirty. This quote right here from the standards themselves, it just says it all, doesn't it? It's about doing science, not just learning about it. This means we expect kids to actually act like real scientists and engineers, asking questions, designing investigations, and trying to solve real problems.
So how does that actually look in a classroom? Well, a lot of teachers use this 5E model, and the most important thing here is the order. Notice how explore comes before explain. This is huge. Kids get to build a shaky tower or try to figure out how to clean dirty water first. They experience the science for themselves, and only after that does the teacher come in and help them attach the formal vocabulary, like gravity or filtration, to what they've already figured out.
All right, let's switch gears and see how this same idea plays out in social studies. Because here, the goal isn't just to memorize a bunch of names and dates for a test. It's to learn how to think like a historian and act like an engaged citizen. The social studies framework has its own inquiry model called the inquiry arc. Learning kicks off with a big, juicy question, something like, why do we even need rules? Then the students turn into little detectives. They gather clues from maps, old photos, letters, what historians call primary sources. They have to weigh the evidence, think about different viewpoints, and then build their very own argument to answer that big question.
But this approach, well, it runs smack into a major real-world conflict. The whole point of this framework is to teach students how to think critically about history. And that directly clashes with some political movements that want schools to teach kids what to think by promoting one single specific national story. It puts teachers in a really tough spot, caught between the professional standards and sometimes even state law.
On to our third area, the arts. And just like we've seen in science and social studies, there's been a total revolution here too. It's a fundamental change in what we actually value when a student creates something. This slide just nails the difference. On the left, you've got product art. We all remember this, right? The entire class makes the exact same hand turkey from a template. The goal is for everyone's to look the same. But on the right, you have process art. Here, the whole point is the journey, the experimenting, the problem-solving, the unique creation. The real learning is in the doing, not in what it looks like at the end. And why does this matter so much? Well, because the skills you build through process art are the exact same skills you need to be a great scientist or a great historian. When you let a kid experiment and play without being afraid of making a mistake, you're building creativity, you're building resilience, you're building problem-solving skills that are the foundation for literally everything else they learn. All right, last but not least, let's head to the gym. Physical education has also been completely transformed.
The goal isn't just about playing dodgeball anymore. It's about developing something called physical literacy, which is this cool combination of skill, knowledge, and the confidence to be active for life.
Just look at this comparison. The old model was all skill drill, lining up and practicing a chess pass over and over and over again. The new model, game-based learning, is so much smarter. It takes that skill practice and puts it inside a small modified game. So kids don't just learn how to pass, they learn when to pass and why they should pass. It's about strategy and thinking, not just mindless repetition. So here's the real kicker. PE isn't some separate thing from the rest of school. It's a vital laboratory for social emotional learning. I mean, think about it. Where else do you get to practice teamwork, communication, and bouncing back from failure in such a direct, physical way? It's where kids build the resilience they absolutely need back in the classroom.
So we have this incredible, connected vision of a curriculum designed to create flexible, creative thinkers. It all sounds amazing, right? But this vision is colliding head-on with some very harsh realities.
The first major roadblock, as we touched on, is the culture wars. The very idea of teaching students to ask their own questions and look at different sources is, to some people, a threat. It puts this whole amazing inquiry-based approach on the defensive. Second, you have the resource wars. Art and PE, even though we've just seen how critical they are for brain development, are often treated as extras. So when budgets get tight, they're the first things on the chopping block. This creates this totally false choice between academics and a well-rounded education, and it's the underserved communities that get hit the hardest.
And the third huge challenge is the lingering shadow of the pandemic. There is just immense pressure to catch students up in reading and math. And that not only pushes subjects like science and social studies to the side, it also tempts everyone to go back to those old, ineffective, drill-and-kill teaching methods across the board.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. This number, 0.6, that represents how many years of schooling some studies suggest students lost because of the pandemic. That is a massive deficit, and it creates this incredible pressure to just go back to basics, which threatens to erase years of progress in building this more thoughtful, inquiry-based way of teaching.
So that's really the bottom line here. What we've seen today is this beautifully coherent curriculum. Science, social studies, art, PE, they're all working together, using similar methods to develop the exact kind of creative, adaptable thinkers our world desperately needs. But this entire modern vision, it's fragile, and it is under attack from multiple directions at once.
Which leaves us with one final, really critical question. We have a curriculum that is specifically designed to prepare our kids for the incredible complexities of the 21st century. But is our educational system, with all its political fights, its funding battles, and its post-pandemic stress, is it actually ready to deliver it?